What's up, guys? Gina Elliott here with Bluegrass Women's Jiu-Jitsu Club doing a Friday morning update. Let me know how you're doing. Let me know how you're feeling. We are officially 2 weeks away from the Nikki Sullivan seminar coming to Central Kentucky, kind of right in the heart at my gym, 10th Planet Richmond. So if you haven't registered for that, make sure that you do so because we are almost exactly 2 weeks away. It's going to be really exciting. She always teaches really well. She's also going to be featured on Combat Jiu-Jitsu, I think this weekend, the flyweights. So a very high level competitor coming to the state of Kentucky to teach a seminar. Of course, many of you guys know she is from this area. So that's one of the reasons we really like to have her in. It's really nice to have her be willing to come back and work with us. But anyways, make sure that you get registered for that. It's only $50. That's it. And you get, I think, an hour of instruction, an hour of rolling. And then I'm trying to think of what else. So if you are traveling in and you are interested in a private lesson, so say this is a women's only event. So say you have your spouse coming in with you, driving in from wherever you may be coming from, you can get together with them and schedule a private lesson with her. So that's definitely something you can do as well. I talked to Bobby Amons, who's also been on Combat Jiu-Jitsu at the last Good Fight tournament I went to last Saturday, and he actually may be coming down, so I'm trying to get with him on scheduling a open mat that after the Bluegrass Women's Jiu-Jitsu Club event is done, and we have our thing going on, that maybe we have an open mat with him as well. So any of you guys that are interested in training with him, you may be able to get with him if he for sure comes for a private lesson as well. But we really are hoping for a co-ed open mat after that. So a lot of really exciting things that are kind of happening. Oh, I got a message here. Let me see what it is. Okay, so today, what's going to happen? One of the reasons that I wanted to have an episode today is to talk about an event that's coming up in Louisville, Kentucky on Saturday. We have Tim Morthland, who's going to be a guest with us, and he's actually the one who puts on all of the Fuji's. He's actually on, so we'll add him to the stream. Hey, man, welcome to the show. Uh-oh, can you hear me? Oh, I can't hear you. Let's see. Dun, dun, dun. Hey, there we go.
There we go.
You hear me?
Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. So how's it going?
Oh, not too bad. How about yourself?
Doing pretty good. Just kind of having a nice lazy Friday. You've been traveling and training a lot lately, I see.
Trying to, yeah. We this year we'll have visited about 100 schools, so probably gonna take a little time off here. I'm breaking it up a little bit differently for next year. Instead of being gone for like 2 or 2.5 weeks at a time, it's a little bit difficult on my family. So I'm going to pick 1 week of each month where we're going from one tournament to another, and then just stay on the road and visit academies and train and meet people and get beat up a lot.
You know, you're travel. I like to cross train and travel and train like that as well. Like for you as a practitioner, what do you feel like is one of your best benefits of doing that?
You don't have the complacency. Like, if you're constantly in one gym, it goes over the same game. You start learning what people do and everything. And when I walk into a gym, I have no idea what they're going to do. We've walked into schools. I'm a big guy, so you don't get a lot of the acrobatic and all that stuff. So it's interesting to hop in there with different schools and just see what they attack on me. And if I don't know what to do, then when I'm done, I'll be like, hey, can you show me how to defend that? Or, hey, how'd you do that? It has been great learning for me.
Right on. So we have one of the reasons we wanted to talk today. We have an event coming up in Louisville. I'm really excited about that this Saturday.
Yep.
So if you want to share with everybody a little bit of information about that event.
Yeah, so we're going to be running it at Area 502 MMA, which huge shout out to Philip for allowing us to use his facility, especially within the time of COVID and everything shutting down and restrictions. It's nice to be able to go to a place and have some normalcy,
Mm.
which is what this is for me, you know. But we'll be running basically a normal schedule. We'll have weigh-ins in the morning, 8 to 9 for kids. We'll get all the kids done competing, clear them out of the area, and then bring the adults in. I'll run my rules meeting about 12:15, and then we'll get the adults running and hopefully be done by 3:30 or 4.
And that's something that you kind of hit on was normalcy. So we had been locked down for so long. I mean, we were able to train, like in our
Yeah,
own gym, but there wasn't a lot of tournaments. I think Fuji and Good Fighters are really the only things that have been, and you've been closer. Um, and we've traveled to some of the good fights. They're like usually 3 hours away for us, but that's as close as we can come to a lot of competition lately.
yeah,
Um, and so it's been really nice. But one of the best times we had and was that Fuji and Bowling Green that you did. We showed up and you had done one in Ohio and everybody kind of had to wait outside and that wasn't too bad. Fortunately, it was nice weather. But then we went to Bowling Green and we were prepared to sit outside and they had those nice big open doors and everybody was there and we saw Phil Perkins and
yep,
just a
yep.
lot of people and it was just for me that event, that Fuji event is probably one of the best experiences I've had post COVID.
Yeah, yeah. Yep, it was a fun tournament. Originally, we were supposed to have Corvette Boulevard, which is where they pull all the Corvettes through to display them before they get shipped to their owner. And we got there, and the venue was so backed up on shipping Corvettes. They had like 30 or 40 Corvettes sitting in there that they're like, hey, we can use the room you normally use, but we're going to have to figure out where to put these other four mats. So we kind of brainstormed and figured out, a couple different places. And then later that night, it changed again. So we ended up lining up four out in the parking lot and three mats inside. Great tournament. Our first tournament there, we only had about 120 people, and this one was well over 300. So super excited about that.
Yeah,
Um,
it was, and everybody just was so happy to see each other because sometimes, you talk about like politics and jujitsu and, and it was just one of those things where like everybody, regardless of like whatever's ever happened, it was like everybody was just so happy to see each other, affiliation notwithstanding.
yeah. Phil says hi. Philip says hi.
Oh, hey Phil. But that was probably, yeah, like I said, that was one of my top moments I think for jujitsu in 2020. So this event that you have coming up, you've actually had to switch venues already, yeah?
Yeah, so we usually run it at the high school. Each year down at Central, they use it as a fundraiser for the wrestling program. And they just reached out to us here about 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, and said, hey, just let you know the state's, or the county school isn't going to let us open back up. So I reached out to a couple different schools, and that's how it's been everywhere, though. Um, in fact, I think all but one event since the beginning of August, I've had to reschedule the venue in short notice. Um,
Yeah.
it's just kind of how it is right now.
Yeah, that's people were asking me because we were supposed to go to another tournament at the Corvette Museum, and then the governor came in and changed the restrictions again on us about 3 weeks ago, and it got moved. It was already 3 hours away for us, but
Yep,
it got moved to a totally different state.
yep,
So I know you're not the only one dealing with that. Um, but people were asking me because they got nervous after that. They're like, should I register? Like, it's supposed to be in Kentucky. Do you think it's gonna happen? I'm like, oh no. Tim already sent out an email that says that he
yep,
has a primary, a secondary, and even a third and fourth thing that he's working
yep.
out. Like, has that kind of been the standard for you? I guess.
It is, and I kind of got that from the military when I was in, having a backup plan, a tertiary plan. Um, that's how it's going everywhere. In fact, I'm getting ready to send out a flyers and a text message to all the academies today, and I'm in my letter, I'm going to tell academies if they're interested in being a backup venue, to let me know because, excuse me, at the end of the day, my venue costs, I have to spend money on a venue either way. I'd rather
Hmm.
it go back to somebody in the jiu-jitsu community, especially if it's a school that's struggling. There's 13 or 1400 schools that I market to, and over 100 of them have permanently closed since March. So if I can do something to help keep an academy open and help me keep my tournament running, man, let's do that. Let's I'm truly blessed over the years of all the people I've met.
Hmm.
um, and that's like, it was a quick message to Philip. Hey man, my venue canceled on me. How big's your place? Can we run it there? He said, yeah, let me look at a few things, got back to me, and it was good. Chewy was the same way. Um, I talked to Adam Gomez. I had talked to um, Rob Nickerson.
Hmm.
Even all the way down in Somerset, they said that they could find a place for me down there. So when they found out that I was looking for a place, I just had an outpouring of people that was like, yeah, we can make this work. So
You know, I would assume that that's kind of been the biggest obstacle here lately is kind of having to work that out. And as for like the competitors, like, do you feel like that's having an effect on um people signing up for a tournament? Because generally, like what we had moved into before COVID is, some of these events were saying, you know what? If you don't register online, there's no registration. And now we're seeing that they're kind of going back the other way.
yeah, so we've kind of always had that policy where we've had day of, because like we get people, like me as a competitor, where I live, it's 3.5 hours to anything. I live at the midpoint between Chicago, St. Louis, Indianapolis, and Des Moines. So it might be that I don't know until a couple days beforehand if I can go or not, or if I could get off work back when I was working a full time job. But so it used to be pre-COVID that about 50% of our registrations would happen at early registration, so that 2 week mark out.
Hmm.
And then we would get about that second 50% within the last 2 weeks. It's kind of shifted now to where that 2 week mark, I'm only getting between 20-30% registrations. And then I'm seeing people trickle in up to about 50 or 60% um, throughout that 2 weeks. And then within the last 48 hours, I'm getting anywhere from 40 to 50% of my registrations either
Wow.
today for tomorrow's tournament, or, we might have 20, 30, 40 people walk in tomorrow and register. So I get a lot of people that message me and they're like, hey man, can I see my bracket? Hey, how many do I have in my bracket? And it's the reason I don't give that information out is because the likelihood of somebody registering the day of
Yeah,
is
that one
is
person
huge.
can, yeah, the one person can shift two different brackets.
Yeah. And then how we do it, because we don't limit people on how many brackets they can compete in. Like
Hmm.
if someone wants in 4 different brackets, I don't care. My job as a coordinator is to get people mat time.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that we have some guys. They're like, "Oh, I just have this one bracket. I thought about asking, I thought about, man, I wish I would have been over there." And I'm like, "Listen, I've been working with Tim for a while now. Like,
Yeah.
where's the table? We will work this out." Because that is
Yeah.
one of my favorite things about your event is like it's pretty smooth sailing for those kinds of things. And it doesn't surprise me. I think, do you feel like a lot of people are just like thinking that this tournament's probably not going to happen, and
Yep.
I'm not going to spend them, because that's what it seems like to me too. Like I had a boy last night saying, "Hey, like how do I register?" And I'm like, "I've been talking about this tournament for 2 freaking weeks."
Yep. Yep. Yeah, people are just a little gun shy on it. There's
Yeah.
been there was a group that when tournaments were getting canceled because of COVID, they weren't really giving refunds. They were just giving straight coupon codes to everyone. And I think that it burned enough people at the beginning of COVID that they're just a little timid because they don't want to drop money into a tournament and then get a coupon code if the whole tournament gets canceled. So I think people are just a little
Yeah.
gun shy.
Yeah, I feel like that about I like Grappling Industries and I like their format. but they will not refund money to save your life. It feels like I literally had to sit on a coupon code for like a year and 3 months. You know, and that can and that's all fine and good, but like I feel like at times there was this thing of like, well, I probably wouldn't have went to this tournament because it's not very convenient, but I got to use this coupon code.
Yep, yep. Our general rule is if we cancel a tournament, we refund it. If someone else cancels within 2 weeks,
Hmm.
that's when they get a refund code. So
Hmm.
I'll get probably 3 or 4 messages today. Hey, I'm hurt, or hey, we had this come up. And my thing is like I depend on that income um, to even get the tournament started. So before I even
Yeah.
walk in the door, I've already spent usually between $4,000 or $5,000. But at the same time, I don't want that person to lose their money. I want them to come and get their mat time and have a good time. So that's why corporate here, I don't know, maybe a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, opened up to where I could give someone a full refund coupon code, and that way they could come back another time when they're better.
You know, this is something I've been curious about, and it's kind of stupid. You know, is there like are you guys having to like work policies of like if somebody writes you and says, "Hey, I have COVID," like, is it kind of the same thing of like full coupon code kind of thing, or
Within the 2 weeks part, like
yeah,
so last
it,
weekend we were in, where were we last weekend? Asheville, North Carolina. And I had someone that said, hey man, I'm not feeling real great. I don't know if I have COVID, but I'm not feeling very well. I'm not going to be there today. And the guy didn't ask for a refund or nothing. He goes, I just wanted to let you know I'm not going to be there. So I just sent him a coupon code, because,
yeah,
you know,
because that's the thing, right? Like, of course, if somebody has COVID and they write you, you know, the Monday before, hey, I just tested positive, you don't want them there.
no,
Um,
no, I don't.
you know, so of course you don't want them there, but there's also that thing of like, if somebody starts feeling symptomatic and it's like a day or two before, you know, that you don't want them there either. But then there's that thing too of like, what if somebody just kind of like you kind of have to be protected on a lens because what if somebody just is like, I don't feel like it. I'll tell them that I'm
Yep.
not feeling well because
Yep.
like you're at this real because I was thinking about how like people are shitty sometimes, man, and they'll use any excuse just to kind of want to get, you know, whatever. So like you really are in a dilemma if somebody says, "Hey, I got a runny nose, can I get a refund?" Like,
Yep.
how do you deal with that, you know?
And it's just that coupon code. So here, the reason that policy originally changed here a couple years ago, the original policy for Fuji was that we would give a refund for any reason. And the day before event, I was giving like $1,500 to $2,000 in refunds just because people didn't want to come. So
Yeah.
then that policy changed to say, hey, it's okay if you don't want to come. Here's a coupon code.
Yeah.
You know,
That's a good I like that. But you know, kind of moving on from I guess I guess I was sick of talking about COVID, but then I find myself that's all I talk about is COVID.
keep tracking to it. It's
I'm
I
like,
mean it's a big part of everybody's life right now.
yeah,
It's the wrecking ball. It's Thanos. It's
it is.
just something we got to deal with, and we've been fortunate, that we can get businesses up and going again, and um, like with us being a small business, even though I run under Fuji BJJ, I'm a franchise owner. So
Hmm.
my actual company is called Combat Sport Concepts.
Mm,
And when everything shut down in March, we canceled 22 tournaments, and I went back to working as a millwright building grain elevators. And my wife got put on active duty, Air Force, to go help run a
mm,
COVID tent. And then luckily, you've met Dalton. He
hmm.
lives with us, and dude, he was a trooper. He stayed at home here and literally took care of my 3 kids all day so that I could go to work
Wow.
and try to keep up on stuff. He worked on the Fuji stuff while I was gone, and then we would get the kids. I would work till like 7 o'clock every night. 5 a.m. to 7 p.m. is about when I was gone from the house. We'd come home, train in the garage, get the kids to bed. We'd work on Fuji and the coffee stuff for a couple hours, go to bed 11 to midnight, and get back up at 4:35. So, but Steph and I, we talked um, about mid-September, early October, when they kind of started putting restrictions on stuff again, and we just couldn't shut down again. So I'm literally going to do everything in my power to not cancel tournaments within reason. Like if there's a really bad area, it's probably better for me just to move my tournament out of that area.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, because we did have one kid who was like, "Oh, we're not going to Louisville."
yeah, yeah.
But I mean, so moving forward into this event,
Mhm.
we one thing that I wanted to talk to you about, um, women competing. What's the numbers looking like for them?
Well, let me look real quick. So you had me thinking last night, um, when we were talking. So this year, over I think 28 events, we've had
Mhm.
1,131 women compete.
Nice.
So if you look at that comparatively over like what it was 3 years ago, the increase in women's jiu-jitsu has been astronomical. And the same with wrestling. So I track a lot of wrestling stats. When I wrestled in high school, there were 3 women in the entire state of Illinois that wrestled, and last year
Mm.
there were like 526 in the state of Illinois. So super super cool. It's, and I think over the next, even 10 years, that's going to translate so much to jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. Uh, when I started, when I started, like almost 11 years ago, um, I would show up and I would be lucky if there was another girl even remotely close to my weight class. And sometimes they would even say, well, you can go in a lower weight class and lower belt rank with the guys.
Yep, yep.
But that's certainly grown a lot. Like I actually have video of me competing against young men. Um, and that's definitely been a great change. What for you do you think has been one of the best changes for females in competition specifically?
Just that there's enough competitors now at the tournaments that they can actually compete against some females. Um, I would say that's the biggest thing, and all these different women's programs. Like, you guys running a women's program down there. AJ Klingerman having a women's program. She's running that camp in June. That's
Hmm.
the role models camp, and that's huge. I mean, she'll have several hundred women there. We're going to be bringing our mats up there so she can use our mats to have more mat space for everybody. Abby Passanelli out in the Philadelphia area, she runs some women's stuff out there. A lot of good female jiu-jitsu out there. In fact, I'm getting ready to build a 145 and less women's bracket and a 145 plus women's bracket expert no-gi for our Allentown, Pennsylvania event. I just posted it on my second Facebook account. So it's just women being able to get out there and go against other women in competition, but then these programs getting built up so much within the academies to sustain women coming to the gym.
Yeah. So one of the things that we found because we're no gi, is that like we had a girl come register for Fuji in Bowling Green, and there was a ton of girls there. Even myself, there was another brown belt girl there. The problem that both of us had is we both do no gi, so we registered no gi, and then the brown belt girl that was my size and the white belt girls that were her size all only registered for gi.
Yeah. So, and we see that with a lot of the men too. Like I might have, let's say I have a 300 person tournament like Bowling Green was. I might have all 300 people doing gi and maybe only 100 of them doing no gi.
Really?
Yeah.
It's that different.
It is.
Wow.
It's a huge difference. Not only that, but then by the time you actually get to no gi, you'll get another 20 people that drop out. Either they got physically hurt, they got their feelings hurt, whatever it might be.
Or
You know,
they got their gold medal and said I'm out.
yeah, yeah, or they got their gold medal and they're like, yeah, I think I'm done for the day. So that's why I don't usually post my no-gi brackets till almost right before no-gi, because from the time the gi starts to it ends, I'll have 20 people walk up to the table and be like, hey, man, I'm going to drop out of my no-gi bracket, you know?
Wow. Wow.
So,
See, I had no idea.
but it's opposite on the East Coast. For example, that's why I'm running expert no-gi for that, for the super fight show that I'm doing at night, is because no-gi is a lot bigger out there. I mean, you have Zach Monty out there that's done a huge contribution to that area. All these schools, they're bigger no gi. And I
Yeah.
figured that out about the Midwest because most of us were all in the Big Ten with wrestling. So you would think that wrestling would track over. But like the academy that I train at locally, they might do no gi once a week.
Mm. That's pretty interesting because, like to say that you have 300 competitors, almost all of them do gi, and maybe 100 register even for no gi, like that's hugely significant. And then even those guys drop out. Um, and you're right, like with the Midwest being a little heavy on wrestling, you wouldn't see that. One of the things that we try to do is, even though we're 10th Planet, we try to encourage people, especially at the low, like at white belt, like it's not that different. Like
Yeah,
not
yeah.
as a white belt, it's not that different.
A little bit higher belt, it gets interesting.
Yeah. I mean, well, and that was kind of my thing is like, I've been trying to train in the gi some, but like I'm a brown belt. So I feel like, man, by the time you get to brown belt, like one of the reasons I do no gi is because I've basically picked my specialty,
Yeah,
and I feel like that about the gi as well. By the time somebody has trained all this time as a brown belt in the gi, they've kind of picked their specialty with their, lasso or worm guard or whatever it is. And so I've spent no time defending that. But as a white belt, you know, people are just grabbing.
yep,
they're
yep.
just they're just grabbing stuff and learn some grip breaks and kind of go for it. But I think that's important information for people to know is, even as a 10th Planet school, like we have to, if we want our competitors to get the competition, they're going to have to put on the gi, even especially at the lower ranks, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, and I mean, there's different things we can do. I mean, for example, like I'm pushing a lot more than no-gi stuff for super fights, just because of videos. I think no-gi is probably a little bit more of the up and coming trend because of all these other shows that are out there that are promoting it. Um, there's a huge push on no-gi right now, so I'm hoping over the next year or two you'll kind of see a little bit more development. Obviously, Gordon Ryan has been huge in the development of no-gi, 10th Planet. You've probably always heard that to be good in the in no-gi you got to train gi. We've been making, well, Gordon made fun of that this weekend, and I agree with him. And I mean, look at Grace Gundrum. Goodness gracious. Like
Yeah.
we visited 10th Planet up there, and I'm watching a little 100-pound girl beat the tar out of 200+ pound men, and it's like she's never trained a day of gi in her life. So I don't know if that's the case anymore because of how no gi has developed over the years.
I mean, for me, it's this thing of like it'd be like, if you want to train your wrestling for jujitsu, you better put on the singlet.
Yeah, exactly,
Like
exactly.
that doesn't really make sense. Like the I mean, it's just beneficial to train it just because it's training, and it is beneficial to learn the grips. And I think for self defense, the gi grips are very beneficial. But if we're talking strictly sport, like we don't tell. I don't know. We don't tell boxers that they got to learn how to kickbox in order to be better at boxing.
Correct.
Although like we do encourage kickboxers to build up their hands in their boxing and kind of the other way around. But I think there are some, they put too much emphasis on it, if that makes sense. Um, Personally, I just want to train jujitsu, and if I have to put on a gi to do it,
We're gonna
like
do it. Yep. I, I
that's what we're gonna do.
you know, I don't remember how old you guys are, but I'm 35 and pretty well wrestled most of my life. And one of the things that I struggle with is no gi that I really like about gi is I can slow my younger opponents down because I can tie them up with that lapel. And like if I'm tired, I can be like, okay, I'm gonna chill here for a minute until they get tired, where I've not been overly successful in no gi on that. Um,
So, for me personally, I love the idea of training in the gi, but I'm the person who gets tied up and slowed down, and I'm like, ugh, ugh. let me go and let me work.
Yeah, we. I was rolling with a person out on our trip, and you could tell they were a very energetic school, very athletic and everything. And I'm not generally a bottom player. Like I'm a big guy. I'm a wrestler. I don't really like being on my back, although I'm working on it. But I've been using Bernardo Frias. We got his BJJ Fanatics video about his lapel guard where he feeds the lapel through the leg.
Hmm.
And so we started off. I went deep half, started on or went at half guard, started to go to deep half, fed that lapel through, and they went crazy trying to pass and everything. And I just kind of chilled there. And after a minute, they stopped. They looked at me and they're like, I don't know what to do. I mean, they had like gone crazy for like 2 minutes, and they're like, you're just laying there holding that, aren't you? And I'm like, mm-hmm.
Yeah, that would
So
be me. I'd be like, could you just let go so we can move? But I'm a scrambler, so and I'm kind
yeah,
of spazzy, so it is what it is. But anyways, I'm pretty excited. Do you have any insight as to what the female brackets are building up to for the weekend? Like
yeah.
any what the
So I
ladies could
have
maybe look forward to?
right now I have 14 women signed up, um, and I've had
Nice.
several reach out to me. But
Hmm.
it looks like I have one or two purple belts. I got
Awesome.
a kind of a full lineup of white belts right now.
Yes.
Um, but I don't have any blue belts. I think I have
Okay.
one right now. I have one blue belt coming down from Michigan that she's going to be working for me this weekend. So that's the other thing I do. I try to staff people at my events. I have a staffing page called Tactical Unicorn Staffing. Um,
I think I've seen
that
that.
Yeah, I've probably invited some of y'all to it, where I'll post an event and people will just get on there and comment that they want to work it and what position they can work and if they need a hotel and things like that. And what I try to do is I try to find also some of the women that like to compete a lot, to work my event, so that if I have somebody show up to the event that didn't early register and or they're like, hey, I need
Hmm.
a match for this person, they're more than willing to jump in. So I'll have kind of a medium weight white belt, a medium weight blue belt, and then usually Sam Valkenhoff travels a lot with us. She's out of SAS up in Cleveland. She's
Yeah, Hurricane Jiu-Jitsu.
yep. She
Yeah.
she'll jump in usually against just about anybody too. But then there's only some of the school owners, like, I'll have, academy owners that are females that are be like, hey, if you have someone show up, I'm not signed up, but I'll roll with them.
Yeah.
So it's always nice to have people like that there too.
Awesome. Awesome. That's pretty exciting. I look forward to it. Sounds like you've got a few purple belts. You need some blue belts. Sounds like if you're a white belt, you're going to have a lot of good competition. So,
Yeah,
girls, ladies,
let's see.
um,
1, 2.
get registered. And you do accept at the door, yeah?
We do.
All right.
Yep.
Wonderful. Wonderful. All right, man. If you don't have anything else to add, I know you got some stuff to do today. I'll
Nope.
let you get to it.
All right. Thank you
Oh,
for
and
having.
thank you for sponsoring our Nikki Sullivan event. I know you
Absolutely.
are giving a rash guard and a pair of bottoms away, so we always appreciate you supporting women's jiu-jitsu, man.
Absolutely. And if there's anything I can ever do to help you all out, just hit me up.
Tell them where they can find you on social media.
So I have 3 Facebook accounts, because they have a 5,000 person limit on each of them. So you can type in either Tim Morthland or Timothy Morthland. Of course, we always have all the Fuji BJJ um, accounts on Facebook, Instagram, all that. I have a coffee page called B2G Coffee. And
Hmm.
then here, probably in the next month or two, I'm going to be starting a podcast on how jujitsu and wrestling can help PTSD, or people with PTSD, anxiety, depression, and things like that. So that's kind of my new project that I'm working on. And so it was an idea about a week and a half ago, and Dalton and I and Steph sat down and talked about it, and I think it's something we want to progress forward with.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
So
All right, man. Well, thanks for coming on today. I hope you have a good rest of the day.
you too. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you all this weekend.
Yeah, we'll see you Saturday.
All right. Bye.
Let's see if I can click him off here. So thank you guys for tuning in. Pretty exciting news about the Fuji tournament that's coming up this weekend. Um, I'm pretty pumped. I always like watching everybody compete. Of course, I've got Natalie and Chris that are going to be competing. So I'll be there. I can't be competing myself because I'm broken again. um, but anyways, you know, get out, do it. Get out, get registered. White belt ladies, it sounds like there's about 10 or 12 of you already registered. Um, going to be some good competition. And some of the best advice I think that we can glean from that interview is do both. Do gi and no gi. And that's one of the things as a 10th Planet school. Like people like you don't do the gi. We actually encourage our competitors to do both because you go to a tournament, you pay what $80 to compete, and for literally usually 10 or 20 more bucks, you're gonna get some more matches. And matches are experience. So get out there, compete, do gi and no gi. You can do it. And with that, I really don't have anything else. I know we have the Nikki Sullivan seminar coming up in 2 weeks. So, like I said, hopefully, I had talked to Bobby Amons. Hopefully, after the Bluegrass Women's Jiu-Jitsu Club event is done, hopefully we'll be able to have an open mat with him and her if they're able to stick around. So that's something that I'm really hoping for as well. But anyways, I don't think I have anything else for you guys. Just keep grinding. And shout out to Phil Perkins. Thank you for opening up your gym to this event so that it could happen. See you guys later.